Are older games better, or is it just nostalgia? Personally, I think they are better. But let's get into it.
Massively disappointing experience with Dragon Age the Veilguard, I decided to reinstall some of the older games in my Steam library and take a trip down memory lane. And it got me thinking about a sentiment I've seen expressed online a lot over the past few years, that video games have been consistently getting worse and that older games are just better. But is it just nostalgia or rose-tinted glasses that are creating a preference for games of the past, or have modern games actually been getting what we're going to explore?
Like, this game looks awesome. Well, I don't even know what game he's playing. This is Stalker. This is the first one. I played the newer one. Didn't like it. Trust me, I made the saddest painting and everyone hates me. Oh my gosh. Not the saddest. Like, this game looks awesome. I'm not even gonna lie.
This video. So without further ado, let's buckle up, grab some iced coffee, and dive right in. The first thing I want to consider when comparing modern games with older games is that there is a
New Vegas
survivorship bias with the latter. When players return to games of the past, they only go to the best games from that era, while good games or bad games are just completely forgotten. Meanwhile, we can easily recall all the good and bad games that have come out in the past few years.
LOL, they criticize you as they walk by. I love that. That's something that I would legit do. I think I would honestly just like roast an artist. Like, dude, this looks like shit. I think that's kind of funny. That's funny. And it's older. It's not like a newer game. But
sure, there have been some great titles like Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, and Black Myth Wukong. But we've also seen colossal flops like Forspoken, Immortals of Avium, Star Wars Outlaws, and Dragon Age the Veilguard.
Yeah, dude, I remember when those games came out. I was actually kind of hyped for Star Wars Outlaws. I was really hyped. And then I didn't play it, but I watched someone play it, as you do. And it looked awful. Like, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. Who knows? Maybe if I downloaded it now and played it on my own, maybe I like it. But my first experience of that game was not good. And it sucks. You know? I don't think I've actually like sat down and enjoyed a game, played it through, and actually enjoyed it since, I think, Fallout 4. You know? And I'll get into this later, but like, I want to talk about Grand Theft Auto. I don't think I'll play the new one. I just have no appeal towards the new game. It's been like 10, 12 years. I just don't care. I really don't care about GTA anymore. The GTA 5 turned me off from GTA. And it sucks. I love GTA. A Red Dead? If they make a Red Dead 3, oh, I'm downloading that. But nah. GTA is done. All right, back to this.
Titles like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and Star
Great
Wars
game.
Outlaws, and show why older games are better. But we forget about the bad titles that came out in the past too. 10 years from now, people will be playing Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, and Cyberpunk 2077, but they'll completely forget about Forspoken and Immortals of Avium. Two of my favorite games, Mass Effect 2 and Fallout New Vegas, were released in 2010. So I decided to see what were some of the slop games that came out that year. Does anyone remember Naughty Bear?
Oh, dude, Naughty Bear.
Xbox 360 game released in June 2010 that has a 5 out of 10 user score on Metacritic. Or how about...
No, you can't diss Naughty Bear. Okay? A Naughty Bear is sick. Do I own it? Hang on. I have to, like... Yo, hold on. Yep. Dude. You can't diss Naughty Bear. You can't diss it. If you've played this game, if you've played Naughty Bear, you are a legend. Oh. I want to replay this so bad. If you have not played Naughty Bear, play this game. This is so fun. Yes, it's bad, but man, you can't sit here and yes, the Iron Man game does suck, but Naughty Bear is sick. You can't sit here and tell me that you hate that game. You simply cannot.
Movie and TV spin-off games like Iron Man 2
Yes.
and Prison Break: The Conspiracy.
I forgot about that.
Nobody remembers these games because they're too busy playing Red Dead Redemption, Mass Effect 2, Darksiders, or one of the many other hits from 2010. So when we think about games from the past and compare them with newer releases, we're only thinking about the best games from that time period. Also, not every good game from the past still holds up well today. Oblivion used to be my favorite game of all time.
Oh, Oblivion's great.
Whenever I dive back into it today, I can't help but notice its many flaws. The copy-pasted caves and alien ruins, the derpy-looking NPCs, and the janky-ass combat are so much more apparent to me now than when I first experienced this game in 2006. It's hard to play Oblivion and enjoy it on the same level when I could be playing The Witcher 3 or Baldur's Gate 3 instead. This is not to say that Oblivion doesn't still have its charm, but the game doesn't quite hold up as well.
Okay, but like you gotta think about this too. Like, you can't compare Oblivion, okay? Oblivion. When did that come out? 2006. And which game? Which Witcher?
Oblivion doesn't still have its charm, but the game doesn't quite hold up as well as later open-world RPGs that improved. It's hard to play Oblivion and enjoy it on the same level when I could be playing The Witcher 3.
Witcher 3. Okay, Oblivion, 2006. Witcher 3. Wild Hunt, 2015. Sorry, 2006, 2015. You can't compare those. Obviously, yeah, Witcher 3 is going to be way better looking than Oblivion. Obviously. Honest, you can... When did Skyrim come out? Skyrim. Why, I spelled that so wrong. When did Skyrim come out? Skyrim came out in 2011. Honestly, you could probably get away with comparing Witcher 3 to Skyrim more than you could with Oblivion to Witcher, obviously, but you can't compare that. You can't compare Oblivion to Witcher. Two very different.
Or Baldur's Gate 3 instead. This is not to say that Oblivion doesn't still have its charm, but the game doesn't quite hold up as well as later open-world RPGs that improved and iterated on the formula. That being said, I still prefer playing Oblivion over Starfield.
Agree.
One of the big reasons why players feel like older games are better than new ones is because we've witnessed the decline of many major AAA studios right before our very eyes. Bethesda, BioWare, and Ubisoft have all tanked their reputations by releasing subpar products compared to games they put out in the 2000s or early 2010s. Bethesda took the RPG world by storm with titles like Morrowind, Oblivion, Fallout 3, and Skyrim. Fallout 4 was also a smash hit despite its flaws, but their last two big releases were Fallout 76 and Starfield.
Brother, what's that?
BioWare was once king of the RPG genre with Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect Trilogy, and Dragon Age. But their last three new releases were Mass Effect Andromeda, Anthem, and Dragon Age The Veilguard. All big flopperinos. Ubisoft put out great games too, like the Assassin's Creed Ezio trilogy and Far Cry 3. But they've seen a significant drop in quality in recent years with titles like Skull and Bones and Star Wars Outlaws. Also, a lot of these studios...
Was Skull and Bones really that bad? I remember when, like, that game was being, like, I wanted to play it. Ugh, really? Okay. Skull and Bones. Wasn't it supposed to be, like... It's a 3 out of 5, $20, 10, 6 out of 10. I mean, that's not bad. Is it like open world? Or are you only stuck in the boat? I mean, I I remember that game coming out, and like I was kind of interested in that game. Anyways,
have taken the edge out of their games as well. As video games became big business, large AAA studios started playing it safe with their games, opting to sand off the rough edges like dark subject matter or anything remotely controversial. For instance, in older Bethesda games, whenever you looted gear off of a dead NPC, those items would be visibly removed from the character model. So if you took an NPC's armor, they would be stripped down to their underwear. But taking the clothes off of a female character model is too toxic and leans into the male gaze, which is a little too risky for the corpos. So in Starfield, whenever you loot the armor off of a dead NPC, their clothes remain fully intact. In Assassin's Creed Valhalla, a game where you play as a Viking, if you kill more than a handful of civilians, you will get a game over. Because we all know Vikings were known for their kind nature and proclivity for sparing unarmed monks in the monasteries they pillaged. And when it comes to Dragon Age the Veilguard, all of the evil choices and potentially problematic elements have been removed from the game. Topics covered in previous Dragon Age games like slavery and blood magic are glossed over, and you can't even play as a blood mage in the Veilguard, unlike Origins and DA2. Hell, you can't even be mean to people in dialogue choices, because God forbid the player make any morally questionable or problematic decisions in the game. One of the most...
What? Are you kidding me? That's the thing. That's what I've been saying. Like, I honestly do believe gaming has gotten too nice. And, like, there's no more freedom in games. That's why older games are way better. It's not like, you know what? Yeah, it was more. You could do more. You can actually have a personality with your character. Like Fallout, for example. You can make an evil character, right? But I feel like in Starfield, you really couldn't. It's what the developer wants you to do, not what the game or the player wants to do. I think that's where it's happening.
Poignant lines from SkillUp's review on the Veilguard was that it feels like HR was in the room whenever they crafted the dialogue in the game.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Corporate safe approach to game development is rampant throughout the industry today. Of course, there are exceptions like Cyberpunk 2077 and Baldur's Gate 3, but a lot of modern AAA games are just playing it safe and end up being boring as a result.
Yeah.
And then we have the insertion of modern-day political
there we go.
into video games, which is often done in a preachy or condescending way. Let's take Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for example.
Yep.
Assassin's Creed is a series where we dive into a simulation, experiencing the memories of fictional ancient heroes throughout history. It's a way for the player to immerse themselves in different periods of history and live out the power fantasy of being a badass assassin. In Assassin's Creed Odyssey, a game set in ancient Greece, Ubisoft wrote a villain character named Cleon, who was clearly based on Donald Trump. Cleon gave a speech proclaiming he would make Athens great again, and at one point Cassandra even refers to him as the Orange Man.
I will make Athens great again!
When I'm exploring the beautiful open
Oh
world
my gosh.
that Ubisoft created in Odyssey, the last thing I want to be thinking about is Donald Trump or anything to do with IRL politics for that matter. For most people, video games are meant to be a form of entertainment and escapism.
Yes.
But many developers today see video games not merely as a form of artistic expression meant to entertain an audience, they see it as a vehicle to communicate their political ideals and teach the audience a lesson. When done poorly, which is often the case, these political insertions end up damaging the immersion of the overall experience and ultimately end up being counterproductive to the goals of convincing the audience of said message. Put simply, game devs are doing more damage to their own political causes by inserting these messages into their games in a poorly written way.
Yep.
This is not to say that politics...
And like, I've noticed that more and more, like, even like in character customization, like, what was that game where it wasn't, it wasn't male or female. It was option 1 or option 2. Like they couldn't even say the gender names. And like your character being non-binary and all that stuff. Like it's not an issue if that's what you identify as, but it's an issue when you keep shoving it down people's throats. That's how you lose the market. If you just make a normal game, like honestly, I have people who are more left leaning who enjoy the older games because it's not depressing all the time. I've noticed that with modern politics, it's just getting more and more depressing every single freaking day. And then they're inserting that into their escapism. So you're not escaping anything. You're just being attached to it over and over again. So yeah, I can completely understand why. And that's part of the reason why I'm kind of leaning away from modern games is because it's just another form of politics spewing, and it's annoying.
Have to be strictly off limits for video games. Plenty of games will explore political and societal themes in their stories, but if the writing is bad, the player is more likely to reject your product than embrace your ideology, especially if they feel like you're talking down to them or insulting their intelligence. Over the weekend, I played Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl for the first time, and after slogging through a bunch of modern AAA slop this fall, this 2007 post-nuclear apocalyptic shooter was a breath of fresh air. The game doesn't try to shove a bunch of modern-day politics down your throat, and it doesn't feel like it was crafted in a corporate boardroom to be as mass market and inoffensive as possible. It just drops you into a world filled with radiation, mutants, bandits, and fun gameplay. It's a game that's meant to be entertaining, enjoyable, and fun, a concept that seems to be lost on many modern game developers.
Yes.
So are older games actually better, or are we just nostalgic? It's a mixture of both, but on average, older games are better than most of what's been released in the last couple of years. There are still a lot of great titles coming out today, games like Cyberpunk 2077, Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, Black Myth Wukong, Space Marine 2, Helldivers 2. There have been a lot of spectacular titles released in the last few years, and these games have stood out because they never forgot the primary purpose of video games, that they are meant to be enjoyed by the end user. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I completely agree. And here's my take. I think older games are way better than current games. And you can sit here and you can say, well, older games don't look as good. Okay. I don't think quality actually matters. It's the overall the experience that matters. You know, I had way more fun playing Fallout New Vegas recently than I did playing. I don't even remember what games I played, new games. It's all just a way for these developers to shove down your throats a political message. And it's annoying. And it's killing it. I mean, look at Ubisoft, for example, man. They've ruined Assassin's Creed with them trying to be woke and everything, and it's not completely accurate with how things were back in the day. It's getting out of hand. So yeah, I don't think it's pure nostalgia. It could be playing like NES Genesis games, yeah, nostalgia 100%. But playing 360 games back when like literally you can make a decision for yourself in an RPG game that can change the outcome of the story, yeah, way better.